Chapter 4. The minute Norman got inside the office, he started to tremble. It was the reaction, of course. Too much had happened, and too quickly. He couldn't bottle it up any longer. Bottle? That's what he needed, a drink. He lied to the girl, of course. It was true Mother wouldn't allow liquor in the house, but he did drink. He kept a bottle down here at the office. There were times when you had to drink, even if you knew you had no stomach for liquor. Even if a few ounces were enough to make you dizzy, make you pass out. There were times when you wanted to pass out. Norman remembered to pull down the Venetian blinds and switch off the sign outside. There, that did it. Closed for the night. Nobody would notice the dim light of the desk lamp now that the blinds were drawn. Nobody could look in and see him opening the desk drawer and pulling out the bottle, his hands trembling like a baby's. Baby needs his bottle. He tilted the pint back and drank, closing his eyes as he did so. The whiskey burned, and that was good. Let it burn away the bitterness. The warmth crept down his throat, exploded in his stomach. Maybe another drink would burn away the taste of fear. It had been a mistake to invite the girl up to the house. Norman knew that the moment he opened his mouth, but she was so pretty, and she had looked so tired and forlorn. He knew what it was to be tired and forlorn, with nobody to turn to, nobody who understand. All he meant to do, all he'd do, was talk to her. Besides, it was his house, wasn't it? Just as much as it was Mother's. She had no right to lay down the law that way. Still, it had been a mistake. Actually, he never would have dared, except that he'd been so angry with Mother, he wanted to defy her. That was bad, but he had done something far worse after he extended the invitation. He'd gone back to the house and told Mother he was having company. He marched right up to the bedroom and announced it, just as much as to say, "I dare you to do something about it." It was the wrong thing to do. She was worked up enough already, and when he told her about the girl coming for supper, she practically had hysterics. She was hysterical, the way she carried on the things she said.
"If you bring her here, I'll kill her! I'll kill the bitch, you bitch!"
Mother didn't talk that way, but that's what she said. She was sick. Very sick. Maybe the girl had been right. Maybe Mother should be put away. It was getting so he couldn't handle her alone anymore. Getting so he couldn't handle himself either. What had Mother used to say about handling himself? It was a sin. You could burn in hell. The whiskey burned, his third drink. But he needed it. He needed a lot of things. The girl was right about that, too. This was no way to live. He couldn't go on much longer. Just getting through the meal had been an ordeal. He'd been afraid Mother would make a scene. After he locked the door to her room and left her up there, he kept wondering if she'd start screaming and pounding, but she had kept very quiet, almost too quiet, as though she was listening. Probably that's just what she was doing. You could lock Mother up, but you couldn't keep her from listening. Norman hoped she'd gone to sleep by now. Tomorrow she might forget the whole episode. That often happened. And then again, sometimes when he thought she had completely forgotten an incident, she'll bring it up out of a clear blue sky months afterwards. Clear blue sky. He chuckled at the phrase. There weren't any clear blue skies anymore, just clouds and darkness, like tonight. Then he heard a sound, and he shifted quickly in his chair. Was Mother coming? No, it couldn't be. He locked her up, remember? It must be that girl in the next room. Yes! He could hear her now. She opened her suitcase, apparently, and she was taking things out, getting ready for bed. Norman took another drink just to steady his nerves, and this time it worked. His hands were trembling. Better. His hands weren't trembling anymore. He was afraid. Not if he thought about the girl. Funny, when he actually saw her, he had this terrible feeling of, what was the word? I'm something. I'm importance. No, that wasn't. He didn't feel important when he was with a woman. He felt impossible. That wasn't right either. He knew the word he was looking for. He read it 100 times in books, the kind of books Mother didn't even know he owned. Well, it didn't matter. When he was with the girl, he felt that way, but not now. Now he could do anything, and there were so many things he wanted to do with a girl like that. Young, pretty, intelligent too. He made a fool of himself answering her back when she talked about Mother. Now he admitted she had told the truth. She knew she could understand. He wished she would have stayed and talked more. As it was, maybe he'd never see her again. Tomorrow she'd be gone. Gone. Forever. Jane Wilson of San Antonio, Texas. He wondered who she was, where she was going, what kind of person she really was inside. He could fall in love with a girl like that. Yes, he could, after just seeing her a single time. It was nothing to laugh at. But she laughed, probably. That's the way girls were. They always laughed because they were bitches. Mother was right. They were bitches, but you couldn't help yourself. Not when a bitch was as lovely as this one was, and you knew you would never see her again. You had to see her again. If you were any kind of man, you'd have told her so. When you were in the room, you'd have brought in the bottle and offered her a drink, drunk with her, and then you carry her off to bed and... No, you wouldn't. No, not you, because you're impotent. That's the word you couldn't remember, isn't it? Impotent. The word the book used, the word Mother used, the word that meant you were never going to see her again because it wouldn't do any good. The word the bitches knew. They must know it. And that's why they always laughed. Norman took another drink, just a sip. He could feel the wetness trickle down the side of his chin. He must be drunk. All right, he was drunk. What did it matter? As long as Mother didn't know, as long as the girl didn't know, it would be a big secret. Impotent was he? Well, that didn't mean he couldn't see her again. He was going to see her right now. Norman bent forward across the desk. His head inclined and almost touched the wall. He heard more sounds, and from long experience he knew how to interpret them. The girl had kicked off her shoes. Now she was coming into the bathroom. He reached out his hand. It was trembling again, but not with fear. This was anticipation. He knew what he was going to do. He was going to tilt the frame license on the wall to one side and peek through the little hole he'll drill so long ago. Nobody else knew about the little hole, not even Mother. Most certainly not Mother. It was his own secret. The little hole was just a crack in the plaster on the other side, but he could see through it, see through into the lighted bathroom. Sometimes he'd catch a person standing right in front of it. Sometimes he'd catch the reflection on the door, mirror beyond, but he could see. He could see plenty. Let the bitches laugh at him. He knew more about them than they ever dreamed. It was hard for Norman to focus his eyes. He felt hot and dizzy, hot and dizzy. Part of it was due to the drink, part the excitement, but most of it was due to her. She was in the bathroom now, standing there facing the wall, but she wouldn't notice the crack. They never did. She was smiling, fluffing out her hair. Now she stooped, sliding down her stockings, and as she straightened up, yes, she was going to do it. The dress was coming off over her head. He could see the bra and panties. She mustn't stop now. She mustn't turn away. But she did turn away, and Norman almost called out to her, "Come back here, you bitch!" But he remembered just in time, and then he saw that she was unhooking her bra in front of the door mirror, and he could see. Except the mirror was all wavy lines and lights that made him dizzy, and it was hard to make out anything until she stepped into a little one more side. Then he could see her. Now she was going to take them off. She was taking them off, and he could see she was standing before the mirror and actually gesturing. Did she know? Had she known all along? Known about the hole in the wall? Know that he was watching? Did she want him to watch? Was doing this to him on purpose? The bitch! She was swaying back and forth, and now the mirror was waving again, and she was wavy, and he couldn't stand it. He wanted to pound on the wall. He wanted to scream at her to stop because this was an evil, perverted thing she was doing, and she must stop before he became evil and perverted too. That's what the bitches did to you. They perverted you, and she was a bitch. They were all bitches. Mother was suddenly she was gone, and there was only the roaring. It welled up, shaking the wall, drowning out the words and the thoughts. It was coming from inside his head, and he fell back in the chair. I'm drunk, he told himself. I'm passing out. But that was not entirely so. The roaring continued, and somewhere inside he heard another sound. The office door was opening. How could that be? He locked it, hadn't he? And he still had the key. If only he'd open his eyes, he could find it. But he couldn't open his eyes. He didn't dare, because now he knew Mother had a key too. She had a key to her room. She had a key to the house. She had a key to the office. And she was standing there now looking down at him. He hoped she would think he had just fallen asleep. What was she doing here anyway? Had she heard him leave with the girl, come down to spy on him? Norman slumped back, not daring to move, not wanting to move. Every instant it was getting harder and harder to move, even if he wanted to. The roaring was steadied now, and the vibration was rocking him to sleep. That was nice, to be rocked to sleep with Mother standing over you. Then she was gone. She turned around without saying anything and got out. There was nothing to be afraid of. She'd come to protect him from the bitches. Yes, that was it. She'd come to protect him. Whenever he needed her, Mother was there. And now he could sleep. There was no trick to it at all. You merely went into the roaring and then past the roaring. Then everything was silent. Sleep. Silent sleep. Norman came to with a start, jerking his head back. God, it ached. He passed out there in a chair, actually passed out. No wonder everything was pounding, roaring. He heard the same sound before. How long ago? An hour? 2 hours? Now he recognized it. The shower was going next door. That was it. The girl had gone into the shower, but that had been so long ago. She couldn't still be in there, could she? He reached forward, tilted the frame license on the wall. His eyes squinted and then focused on the brightly lit bathroom beyond. It was empty. He couldn't see into the shower stall on the side. The curtains were closed and he couldn't see. Maybe she'd forgotten about the shower and gone to bed, leaving it turned on. It seemed odd that she'd be able to sleep with the water running full force that way. But there, he'd done it himself just now. Maybe fatigue wasn't intoxicating as alcohol. Anyway, there didn't seem to be anything wrong. The bathroom was in order. Norman scanned it once again, then noticed the floor. Water from the shower was trickling across the tile. Not much, just a little, just enough for him to see it. A tiny rivulet of water trailing across the white tiled floor. Or was it water? Water isn't pink. Water doesn't have tiny threads of red in it. Tiny threads of red like veins. She must have slipped. She must have fallen and hurt herself, Norman decided. The panic was rising in him, but he knew what he had to do. He grabbed up his keys from the desk and hurried out of the office. Quickly, he found the right one for the adjoining unit and opened the door. The bedroom was empty, but the open suitcase still rested on the bed itself. She hadn't gone away, so he guessed correctly. There'd been an accident in the shower. He'd have to go in there. It wasn't until he actually entered the bathroom that he remembered something else, and then it was too late. The panic burst loose, but that didn't help him now. He still remembered Mother had keys to the motel too, and then as he ripped back the shower curtain and stared down at the hack and twisted things sprawled on the floor of the stall, he realized that Mother had used her keys.